and the United States, amongst politicians, governments, and wealthy people, that's another lens to analyze things from, was the Bracero program. Folks know what a Bracero program is? When we talk about the history of Mexico and the United States? Well, the Bracero program gave permission for migrant workers to come from Mexico into the United States with working arrangements, okay? That doesn't mean that the labor laws apply to them. So they were discriminated against, folks were sent back, some folks stayed back here without papers because the situation in our countries aren't the best. And the same program was established in the Dominican Republic between the Dominican government and the Haitian government. Politics, elites, wealth, class. So you had Haitian migrants coming in, being exploited. When they were no longer needed, they were shipped back. Modern day slavery. Okay? And that is the context of a lot of what's happening today. So, although a lot of people say Trujillismo is dead, its politics and its practices are still very well alive. And we need to know that, okay? As a black woman, walking into the Dominican Republic with my hair is always an issue. And that talks to the internalized racism that we experience as a nation. When this is not considered beautiful, when as black people we consider ourselves better because we're lighter, because we have straight hair, and the Haitians are the black devils. Now the question is to be posed, do we have the same reaction with Europeans? Because we've been having debates in the Dominican Republic and fights over Canadian and US and European corporations that want to take over our land. But the government allows that to happen. And it's okay for that to happen. And when I say the government, I'm not talking about a particular party. All parties. All three parties have been responsible for spreading the sentiment of anti-Haitianism. All governments, okay? Something else to consider. This ruling, the 16813, and I'm sorry, I'm very agitated because I'm mad. I am mad. I'm angry. And I think we should be. I think there's a certain element of feeling that comes to your gut when you see injustices that needs to be expressed. And so when we talk about the 16813, the constitutional law that has been passed, we need to also understand that it doesn't only violate human rights internationally, right? Because international law protects the right of folks who are born within a certain territory. Regardless of what the status of your parents are, you have birth rights if you're born in a territory. The Dominican Republic has consistently violated those rights for folks born in the Dominican Republic of Haitian descent. Okay? Of Haitian descent. Again, race, class. Haiti is a poor country that has been exploited consistently. If we go back to colonization, we get that context, and I think Mark is going to talk a little bit more about that. But we don't have a problem with a lot of the Arab communities that come in with money that run the industries of textile. We don't have a problem with those folks. We don't have a problem with the Europeans that own the resorts. We don't have a problem with those. There is an entire community that was welcomed at the same, almost same period of time when the Jewish came into Sosua and a whole community was displaced, and they were placed there while Trujillo was over here displacing and killing Haitianos. So that is the foundation of a lot of what this dynamic and this dehumanizing process is, and I think it's important for us to understand it. It violates human rights and civil rights that are protected or are supposed to be protected by international law. We don't care about that as a nation. And I say we in general, there are people who are fighting tirelessly this. But as a nation in general, the government, that anti-Haitian sentiment is there. So it violates the Constitution itself How does that happen? How does a law come into place and violate the Constitution? Well, the Constitution says that there should not be laws included that are retroactive. This law is retroactive to 1929. That's how many years? Those of you who are mathematicians. That's 80 somewhat years. That's 4 generations of people who have been born there. So not only me, but my mother and my mother's mother and my mother's mother's mother. So we're talking about generations and generations of people that are affected by this law. Okay. Another thing that I think is important to bring, and I'm not going to try and read all of this. You could read it on your own time. But I think another thing that is important to put out there is that the lenses in which we see what's happening, the approach in which we see, and this is why I think it's important for Dominicans in the diaspora, and not only Dominicans, because this is a human rights issue. This is another thing. It's a human rights issue. So if we're concerned with human rights and justice, it's our problem. Just as it would be our problem, anything that's happening here in the United States, it's a problem in the Dominican Republic as well. In 1199 alone, there's about 90,000 members who are of Haitian descent, who are Dominican nationals. Do you get what the problem is going to be? 90,000 members of 1199 are of Haitian descent who are Dominican nationals. These people came to this country. This opens a whole different box of issues. These people came to this country with Dominican documents and are not considered Dominican anymore. That opens up a whole different box of issues. That is how serious it is. The other day, we did an event a couple of Fridays ago at the Gregorio Luperon High School in 165th in Amsterdam, and we're placing photos around the space of a visit to the border of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and one of the young men from the student body says, "Oh, I know that border." And we're like, "How do you know that border?" He's like, "Well, my father is of Haitian descent, and he came in through the Jabón." And we told him what the sentencing was, and he was going, like, appalled. He was like, "Oh my God, that means that I could be one of the folks that are stateless." So it's not something that's only happening in the Dominican Republic and is affecting Dominicans, but it's affecting Dominican citizens of Haitian descent who have migrated, not only to the United States, but if you know Dominicans, you know that we are everywhere. We're everywhere, okay? Why the emphasis on Dominicans? I think now more than ever, it's important to put an emphasis to that, because we are talking about Dominican citizens. Men and women who were born in Dominican territory, who are by right, by their human rights and their civil rights, entitled to access all sorts of rights that a citizenship would give a person. And all of this is being taken away. I think it's important to analyze this in the context of a political atmosphere where you have a political party that has reigned. They've been in reign for a long time. And taking away citizenship also means taking away votes. I'm just putting it out there. Some might agree, some might not, but I think that's also a reason. Okay. I also want to invite folks and talk a little bit about what we have been doing. So we heard about the sentencing in New York City on the 23rd of September. And since then, folks started forming coalitions and started trying to figure out what to do, okay? Like I said earlier, the situation between the Dominican Republic and Haiti is not new. We've shared an island forever. Forever. It was one island before colonization came in, okay? Folks migrated however and whenever they wanted. And it wasn't migration, people were just visiting, okay? And so we also need to understand the context of geopolitics. Who benefits from all this? If you go to the border, you'll see that that there is a lot of domination from Dominican military on both sides. So it's not like the Haitian military has a dominance in the border. The Dominican military does. Okay, and there are many different ways in which people come in, from women being assaulted by the military and having to provide sex to be able to come in, from buying their entrance into the space. Okay, nobody does that unless you need to survive. Nobody just wakes up one day and says, oh, I feel like migrating and crossing borders. That shit does not happen like that. People need to do it. And again, those of us who have migrated and those of us who have parents who have migrated, I think can feel that and know that sentiment. So from that space of knowing the immigrant experience, from the space of having worked around Dominican Haitian issues, a lot of the folks with that history came together and did a press conference on September 23rd around the issues that the TC, the constitutional law, that was ruled. And since then, we have been meeting every Wednesday consistently and planning events. If not every 23rd of September, close enough. I mean, if not every 23rd of every month, close enough to bring awareness to the different communities of what it is that is happening in the Dominican Republic. And like I said earlier, it's the legalization of xenophobia and racism. If you at some point, some way before thought about being a racist but thought, well, I'm not going to be politically correct, at this point, you are entitled to be a racist and discriminate against people, because legally, it's in the Constitution. Okay? The fight is for the fight has been for the constitutional court to come together again and revoke the law. But there have been a lot of conversations about how it's irrevocable. Okay? And so international bodies have expressed their dissent, have expressed the need to protect and respect the human and civil rights of Dominicans of Haitian descent, but the Dominican Republic, particularly its government, has not been responsive. And the response, and I already got the 5 minute, and the response has been, everybody was kind of waiting February 27th. You know what February 27th is, right? Dominican Independence Day from Haiti. Holler. We can have that conversation another day. But everybody was waiting for President Medina to come out and give a statement as to what was going to happen around this. And his response has been, since he spoke out since he spoke around the issue, was that they were going to try to make this process of implementing the law in the most humanizing way. That has been his response. There is no way of humanizing a law that dehumanizes people. That's what we're saying. And so folks in the Dominican Republic from different organizations have come together, and what they've been asking folks who are being told now that they need to reapply for citizenship is, do not reapply and do not validate the system. Do not validate the law by reapplying. Okay, all these different organizations, MUDA, Centro Bono, have come together and are doing grassroots work in terms of legally assisting folks who are having issues in relation to what the constitutional law has done. The information sheet gives a little bit more data, because I went on a temp and I started talking about all sorts of things, so they gave me the 5 minute thing. Now I want to respect the time, but there you have, there you could find the blog, the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube. If you want to be able to get involved in any of the events that we will be organizing, you could always talk to me afterwards. The next event is March 24th, and I think Leonard, you can speak a little bit more about that. But March 24th, a group of folks from the two coalitions that have been doing most of the organizing work here, which are Dominican by Rights, which is an organization or a coalition with different members that are activists, educators, And then the other one is We Are All Dominicans, which is mainly working with within CUNY and with CUNY students. Both coalitions are heading to Washington, D.C. on Monday, March 24th. And in April, we are hoping to do an event, an open mic, have people, through their artistry and their music or spoken word, speak against this inhumane law. And I stress inhumane because there are certain, for me, when a system is unjust, the law means shit to me. And the systems, like the systems of capitalism, of imperialism, of colonization, have never been for the people. Human rights is what we have as people who were born on this earth. Civil rights is what we need to fight for. Within the system, outside of the system, if it means throwing a wrench at the system so that they know we're here. And so I think it's very important for us to understand that we are here and they're there, but our struggles are one. Because when you hear the HR 1363, 1995, that was introduced here in the United States. When we look at HR 4437 in 2006, when we look at SB 1070 in Arizona, when we look at the banning of books, the banning of ethnic studies, is not at all disconnected to the struggles of immigrants and migrants of Haitian descent and Dominicans, Dominicans born to Haitian parents in the Dominican Republic. It is our duty, it is our responsibility to be in solidarity with that struggle.